Geo Nerds, we find ourselves today on the track at Burleigh Heads. Here's Rob being accosted by a couple of Uzbekistani hikers, lovely people. So today we're going to have a look at how Burleigh Heads went from this, yes, part of the Tweed Volcano Complex for sure, but how it got from this through to this. And today we've got a sponsor. Yeah, it's going to be buried in somewhere in the middle. You'll be surprised. No, you won't. Anyway, so it's a long journey, but it starts with single step. So we'll get going. You know what I'm going to say. If you dig the vibe, like and subscribe. And don't forget, let's rock.
Rocking with T-Rocks, he's the man, he'll show you what it means. From our mystic shores to outback sands. Rocks, he's your guide to our ancient land. He's your guide to our ancient land.
Well, folks, here we are today, 300 kilometres above the Tweed Volcano. Again, promise this will be the last time for a little while. We're going to drop down in onto Burleigh Heads. But to understand Burleigh Heads, you have to understand the Tweed Volcano and the lava flows that ran from this massive volcano down towards the ocean. The ocean wasn't where it is today. Back in those days, it was quite a bit further out to the sea, and there's no evidence that the lava or the basalt contained in Burleigh Heads ever hit the ocean. There's no pillow lava formations, and it cooled slowly. So it was a deep flow, and it's all pretty much been eroded. There's a few bits left. We'll have a look at that, of course. But the thickness of it is still at the heads itself, which is why it's still there, obviously. So you can see the heads there. All of that black rock is basalt columns that have broken off their heads and fallen down into what's called colluvium at the base of the heads there. And not all of the heads are basalt. Back towards that little beach there near the road, that's actually part of the Narrenly Fernvale group, and we'll see that, which is shales and sandstones and etc. And some of the columns are exposed at the front there where they're exfoliating. And if you pull back, you can see the ridge. Now, the ridge isn't all basalt, but there is basalt on top of the ridge. And it goes right back up to the edge of the Shield volcano, which was, of course, the Tweed volcano 23 million years ago. Still an awesome sight. Never get sick of looking at it. Anyway, what we'll do now is we'll go and have a look at the actual geology of this area. And it is very different. It's also got some great native people's site there. We'll have a bit of a look at that too. So let's go and have a look at that now. So folks, runny lava, basaltic lava, coming down from the Tweed volcano. This is Mauna Loa. It's very similar to the Tweed volcano, a shield volcano caused by a mantle hotspot. And here's a diagram of what they believe the Tweed volcano looked like. 7,000 feet high. This is really high. You can see Mount Warning buried inside there. That's a significant mountain. This thing was huge. And here's our little bit down at Burleigh Heads. This basalt made it all the way down here. And you can see it sitting there. Here's a 3D representation. The purple there is the Narrenly Fernvale beds. These are 400 million years old. This stuff's only 23 million years old, so it's sitting on top of it. But you can see the contact zone there. Now, there's no way that basalt didn't alter that shale in that metamorphic zone. And from the south side, you can see it even better because you can see the point at which they contact. Now, it's my belief that this basalt is so thick just at this location because it flowed into a valley. in the Narrowleaf Fernvale beds and filled it, and it took a long time to cool because it was a very thick massive of it. So that's my theory anyway. So this young lady is standing on, even then you weren't allowed to stand on it, you're still not allowed to stand on it, some of these big basalt columns. Here they are here inside. They don't form horizontally, they form from the cool surface to the liquid. That's how they form. Up, down, sideways, doesn't matter. Here's one here. As you can see, they say they're hexagonal. They're not hexagonal. They're polygons. As you can see, they're not all hexagons. There's a reason for that. It's not particularly uncommon in the world. It's not particularly uncommon in Queensland. But I think anyone that saw Close Encounters knows what this is in the United States. A particularly striking example. Giant's Causeway, Northern Ireland. Stuff goes on for miles. Absolutely hundreds of kilometres to the north. Mount Wellington, Hobart. This is dolerite, which is the cooled underground version of basalt. Deccan Traps in India. Kilometres of this stuff thick. Now, the Deccan Traps are interesting. Every one of the layers you see here is another flow of basalt. This went on for millions of years. And did it form columns? Yes, it did. Here they are here. This is in the Deccan Traps. These have eroded away, but they're still freestanding. If anyone ever tells you, by the way, oh, it was the dinosaur impact that caused the Deccan Traps because it's the antipode. No, it's not. There's the antipode. They always forget to move the continents back to where they were at the time. Anyway, this is a particularly good-looking example looking up. This is above you where they've broken off. But it's not only basalt that does this. This is salt. This is in South America. And the bees know. They know that hexagons are the shit. That's the way to get the maximum stuff. But nature doesn't always have that luxury. So as you can see, there are some hexagons in here and there are some polygons. Those ridges are because the salt wells up through the cracks. So let's have a look at some of the shapes. There's a hexagon. They're there. There's a pentagon. Oops. What's that? It's a squashagon. Some sort of rectangle-y thing. Here's a squarey looking thing over here. And there are some more hexagons in there if you look. Why? Why is it like this? Well, it's because up the top there is cold, it's shrinking, it's getting smaller, it's putting stress. The stress pulls to the least lines of stress, and that's where it cracks. And as the cooling moves down through the massif, those faults just expand downwards. So they always go from the cold to the hot, always. Anyway, that's a bit complicated. There was a formula with that, but I didn't bore you with it. Now we have to have a word from our sponsor. Yeah, sponsor.
Commercial time.
Brisbane has a fascinating history, and I've covered much of it in my YouTube videos. But have you ever wondered, gee, I'd like to go on a history walkabout too? Well, now you can. I'm offering personalised walking tours around our amazing city so that you too can discover its history and heritage, with me as your guide. And there's lots of topics to choose from. Convict Brisbane, old pubs, World War II, churches, and they are amazing, the stories behind the city's most iconic buildings, and Brisbane's lost history. And this is how it works. Now, I like to keep things simple. A tour costs $200 and can include up to 4 people. Here are the steps. Choose your topic, select your date, pay the fee, and off we go. And no matter the topic, it's one standard fee. If it's just you wanting to do the tour, that's cool. We get to hang out and have a nice informative walk. If, however, you want to bring some friends along, well, that's cool too. In fact, the more people you bring, the cheaper it becomes for everyone. Each walking tour is 90 minutes long, and if you're very lucky, we might just have a beer at the end. And if there's anything else you need to know, just ask. I like romantic walks on the beach at sunset, drives in the country, a glass of wine by an open fire, and I enjoy putting slinkies on escalators. So, if you're willing to be seen with me in public, please email me at the address below and we'll get the history tour sorted. Thanks very much. Hope to hear from you soon.
Well, folks, how do we know? Well, there's a map here that tells us, but yeah, there's other ways. Whenever you drill a water bore in Queensland, you've got to register it, and the guy who drills it has to register stratigraphy. This is for this well here, drilled in 2006. As you can see, 30 metres down, we've got meromorphic stone, whatever the hell that is, but I can tell you, it is metamorphic shale. The heat from that basalt has cooked it, and they found an aquifer there and they got water out of it. This is actually next to the tennis courts in a set of units just in the street next to the park. Well, folks, I've wrapped the 3D of the geology onto the topology here. So there's our Burleigh, but there's more basalt back here. Right, and there's a little more back here. This whole area was covered in basalt at one stage. It's just been eroded away. Now, this is the Lamington Group basalt, so it's a very big group. It would have covered this entire section of the coast for sure, and she's all been eroded away. This stuff is thicker and harder, which is probably why it's still there. So if we take a wider shot, there's Burleigh, there's a little bit we pointed to earlier, but if we take a wider shot, looking up the Tallabudgera and the Currumbin Valley, there's basalt there. It's all the same group. There's basalt there. There's quite a bit of basalt here in the upper Currumbin, and it just keeps going. The closer you get to the volcano, the more basalt there is remaining. But as you can probably imagine, it's also down in northern New South Wales. This whole area was obviously covered in basalt. It's just been eroded away. And what we're seeing are the hard, thick bits. Well, folks, just up the beach, which is where we're standing here, looking back at Burleigh, just up the beach, there's a few headlands called the Nobbys. And you'll see all the time in the geology, these are artefacts left over from the Tweed volcano. No, they are not. These are shales. These are uplifted portions of the Narranly Fernvale beds, and the northernmost of the two contained Magic Mountain. Hey, Liam. Anyway, don't let anyone tell you these are part of the Shield volcano. They're not related to it at all. I want to film the seeks, but there's a cube. Well, folks, we're on the banks of Tallabudgera Creek here, and we know that Burleigh's all basalt. Burleigh's just there, but this rock down here, this is all shale. All of it's got quartz intrusions in it. This is the Narranly Fernvale group, the same group we see in Brisbane. Interesting. Let's put a pin in that. I'll film it, Rob. You'll be right. Well, folks, we found the Rob repellent. This is his kryptonite right here. This is the basalt as it breaks into these beautiful big crystals and then falls down into the ocean, never to be seen again. You can see where it's shedding here from the face. Conditions we get. We're just approaching the lookout. Switch to decent sunglasses. As you can see here, we're a fair way up Burleigh Head now, and the country is all basalt boulders. If you look carefully, most of them are
smashed up polygons. And we'll have a look up the top, we could see them more in their natural state. Well, they're natural, still in the ground anyway. Up the hill we go, up the hill we go. We're on the basalt now. I'm going to try and find you the place where they meet. Nice tree there, Julian. They didn't get up here by themselves.
Wow. Oh, there's one down here.
Well, folks, here we are just on the side of the track at Burleigh. And there's an Aboriginal Midden showing through the side here. Very hard to say how old that is by looking at it. You'd have to carbon date the actual calcium carbonate in the shells, but this far up, I would say it's probably 3,000 or 4,000 years old when the sea levels were much higher.
So how high would this midden have been? And
That's a very good question, Rob. The native people here are the Yugambeh people, and most coastal Aboriginal people up here are very, very fit people, well looked after because the food was first rate. The seafood and the diet they got was good. But this midden, well, how do we know how old it is? Well, here we have a graph that goes back 7,000 years, looking at sea levels. Now, at the moment, that midden's about 4 metres above sea level, maybe 5 metres, it's hard to say. And we know that they didn't carry this stuff 10 metres up a cliff to sit there and eat it. So I would think this is probably around somewhere between 2,000 and 4,000 years old. Obviously, someone would have to radiocarbon date that to know. There are about 6 or 7 middens around Burleigh Head. They don't map them all because they don't want people going there messing with them. I understand that. So, a very interesting site. Obviously, with all those columns and all of those big polygonal rocks, the Aboriginal people would have treated that head fairly specially, I would believe. Well, folks, just up the road at 6th Avenue, up in Burleigh, there's a Bora Ring. And that's a very important thing to Aboriginal people. I get that. But more importantly, I think, is this. This is an Aboriginal war memorial to all the Aboriginal people who fought and died for Australia. We do not talk about this enough. Over 400 Aboriginal people volunteered in World War I. And I guarantee you, a lot of them would have died, including this man, George Graham, from Burleigh Heads, a local tribe man. And he fought in France in World War I, and which is where he died in 1918 of his wounds, and he's buried in Croix Cemetery in France. So, we need to think a little more about this sometimes, I think. Well, folks, here we go. Historic photos from Burleigh. This is 1898. You can see the Nobbys up there. No Magic Mountain yet. And this is from the Nobby looking back. This is a little bit later. This is in the early 1900s. Here we up here, 1930 aerial shot. Don't get too many of these. A little bit of civilization coming in there. You see they've cleared the back of the head. Here we are up in 1920, looking up towards the Nobbys. You can see the scree field of all the boulders there. 1920 again, 1920, looking up towards the head. Looking quite good, actually. 1921, same deal. Bit of construction going on in the foregrounds. 1922, bit of a rally going on here. All the cars are there. It's amazing. People like beaches. They always have. So we have 1931 here around the back of the Talabudgeragar Bridge, which is where Rob and I were there. That Greek restaurant's in there now. Here we are, 1954. That's sand mining in front of us there. See that big strip mine dug into the beach? Bit of sand mining going on. And here it is today. It's absolutely gorgeous. Now, if you want to go to the Gold Coast, not my favourite part of the world, but if you want to go to the Gold Coast, everywhere you go, it's sand, sand, sand. If you go to Burleigh, you get sand and you get stone. So, you get a bit of variation. It's just a nice place. Beaches are beaches. This is a beautiful thing. I get all that, and it's a lovely place. But, yeah, I think Burleigh has it. It's got natural beauty, and it's a bit different. Anyway, I quite like it. So, anyway, if you dig the vibe, like and subscribe. thank Rob for sponsoring this video. Rob, leave your money on the fridge. And all of you, keep rocking, because T-Rocks is out.
And his is something or other.
So you only do Australia?
No, I just came back from 5 months in Europe. I've been across America, but I'm like...
I am a little disappointed.
Oh, I see nothing. I was not here. I did not even get up this morning.